Biggest winners and losers from the NFL draft. Next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Emory Hunt, and the NFL draft is in the books, and we're going to talk about the biggest winners and losers, specifically among the prospects. If you want to get deeper into it, make sure you go to cbssports.com/fantasy/football. I did the biggest winners and losers from the NFL draft with guys like Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith as winners, but we're going to talk about simply the best landing spots for some of these prospects. And, obviously, Emory, we were talking before the show, when we're talking about fantasy, landing spots matter a lot for year one. On the chances that a guy's going to win a job right away, talent clearly plays a big part in that. But who these guys have around them is going to matter in year one in particular. Who are some landing spots that you really liked as far as the potential for an immediate difference maker?
Anthony Richardson, number one.
Yes.
Because of his dual threat capability, paired with a dynamic tailback in Jonathan Taylor. And also he has great weapons on the perimeter. So he is set up nice behind a very good offensive line, in my opinion, to hit the ground running, both figuratively and literally. I think at worst he could provide what Daniel Jones did last year as a 4-year veteran, right? So that's what top 10 fantasy numbers that Jones put up. So I feel like Richardson is a great one. I'm a big Jahmyr Gibbs guy, as we talked about him pre-draft, and now he lands in the spot where people are worried about David Montgomery. He's not going to take away from Jahmyr Gibbs. And when you also factor in Jameson Williams being gone for 6 weeks, the receiving part of Gibbs's game is going to probably ratchet up a little bit more. So I see him having a really good debut in year one as a rookie. And I would also say Jackson Smith and Jigba, because he's in a spot where obviously the focus will be on DK Metcalf. You roll coverage to his side. Tyler Lockett does what Tyler Lockett does, and he also tends to be a little bit nicked up at times. But the guy that's going to benefit because he's going to face your third best corner is probably going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I feel like he's going to get a lot of the opportunity more so than the backfield. You see what I did there? Because I know people are focused on Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, but in Jigba might have the best landing spot out of those two rookies.
Yeah, I thought the Charbonnet pick was really interesting because it suggests maybe they're not quite as happy with Kenneth Walker as we might have thought. Maybe they think, they need an alternative in case he, remains more of a hit or miss player. He had a lot of big plays, but a lot of plays where he was tackled behind the line of scrimmage. I'll also throw out the other early round pick for the Lions there as a winner, Sam Laporta. This is a team with Jameson Williams out for the first 6 games of the season. All of a sudden, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown and a lot of question marks on that offense. So I do think it's a situation where, he could have an opportunity to be a pretty big part of this offense from day one. I like the after the catch ability there. So I think that could be a pretty good landing spot for a team that, once TJ Hawkinson got traded last year, they really didn't use their tight end. So there's a big opportunity from a rare tight end to step in from day one and make an impact for fantasy. How about some guys do you want to say something?
No, I was getting ready to say, we talk about Bijan Robinson too. When you take a back that high, he's going to get the touches and going to get the carry. So that's something that's almost a given. He may be now in the conversation for pick 1 overall in fantasy.
Yeah, I've got him as like a borderline first rounder right now, but that could be a situation where if they talk about wanting to throw the ball a little more and getting him involved in the passing game, that's where you could start to really unlock upside. Because I think in that offense, the way they run the ball, he's a lock for 270 carries as a rookie. For me, the upside question just comes, can he catch 50 or 60 passes? He's got the ability. Will they do that in that offense? He could absolutely have a Saquon Barkley-esque rookie season for sure. What about some landing spots that we don't love?
Well, Charbonnet, because one, Pete Carroll loves. He did this before when he took Dallas Davis and Travis Homer, along with Rashad Penny. Then he got those guys as young guys, but ended up giving the ball to Chris Carson. So it's like what to expect from Kenneth Walker. I think Charbonnet has better vision than Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker has better speed, straight line speed, but Charbonnet feels the run game better, has better footwork. How many times we saw Kenneth Walker crash into the back of his lineman? But now you sit there with two guys that kind of need volume to be successful. So who's going to eat in the backfield? Will it be a combination backfield, or will it be a lot like what we saw last year where Walker's going to be the guy, but when he gets tired, they really didn't have depth last year when guys started to get banged up. and maybe that's where Charbonnet comes in. But I just didn't like the fit there. And then also when you think about Hyatt with the Giants,
Yeah.
because they've added a lot at receiver. Darren Waller has to eat. Saquon Barkley has to eat. Do you really want Daniel Jones throwing the football a lot to where he's going to have to throw the ball to a guy like Hyatt? He can't even complete passes deep down the field.
Yep.
That's not his strength. He's better in the short to intermediate area. And I feel like that's just not a good fit for him because they didn't really need a wide receiver per se.
Yeah, they've got 14 wide receivers on their depth chart. Now, they've got a lot of injuries. Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard both coming back from injuries. So, there's a lot of question marks. So I get the decision to, get someone with that downfield speed and big playmaking ability, because right now it's kind of, it was just Darius Slayton, I guess, on that offense, and then maybe Darren Waller. But like you said, Daniel Jones took this big step forward last season. It also coincided with him having his shortest average depth of target of his career. They really pulled the reins back. They made that offense work by designing a lot of quicker throws, getting them on the move. I don't necessarily know if, that's part of his game that he can maximize for Jalen Hyatt. I just kind of think the landing spots for the wide receivers in general weren't great for the initial run for fantasy. I think Jordan Addison has a great opportunity with the Vikings as the number 2 with Justin Jefferson, how much coverage he's going to draw. And Jonathan Mingo obviously has a pretty clear path with Carolina, and he'll grow with Bryce Young. But, I think that offense will have some growing pains. But then, Quentin Johnston, that felt more like a 2024 Mike Williams replacement, where his contract starts to bloat. They can walk away and have a ready-made replacement for him. Jaden Reed, he could be the starting slot receiver, but we don't know how good Jordan Love's going to be. Rashee Rice, I think there's a really interesting opportunity, obviously playing with Patrick Mahomes, but we just saw them draft Sky Moore and trade for Kadarius Toney and basically not use them. So the Chiefs are, comfortable not necessarily getting immediate contributions from those guys if they think it helps them long term. So I think a lot of these wide receivers, they're going to be worth taking, outside of the top 100 in your fantasy drafts, but you might need to exercise even more patience, which is always the thing with rookie wide receivers. It can take some time for them to get going. So, any of those that you think I'm underselling a little bit?
No, because you make great points for all of those guys. And when you think about someone like Rashee Rice, how much different will this offense look without Eric Bieniemy? Like, is there a different wrinkle that's going to be there? And we know Andy Reid is someone that can design plays, but to your point, how much will he use a guy like Rice? And is Rice better than what they had last year and more? So those are things. And maybe it's the offense that allows receivers to slowly pick it up in Kansas City. So he may not even get that opportunity to really hit the ground running. So I agree with your points on a lot of these guys and where they ended up for receiver purposes.
All right, that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more NFL draft fallout. We'll see you then.